What's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in live to Wesam's World. Really appreciate you all. If you're listening, make sure you follow us on Wesam's World. And if you're watching on YouTube, just hit the subscribe button. I'm really excited for our guest today, Stacey Solodkin. She used to be an actor, manager, talent agent, ovarian cancer survivor, currently in remission, and she also makes beautiful art. And so I'm super stoked to talk a lot of things with her. Stacey, thank you very much for coming on today.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm
very
excited.
Good energy.
Oh, I feel the same way about you.
Thank you. I'm always nervous in a good way. There's like this light energy when I meet somebody for the first time, and then we're going to start talking about their life and about life in general, art, and about the scary things in life. And first of all, I was really impressed the fact that you have done so many things, going from actor to manager to talent agent to selling your company.
Yeah.
And then dealing with cancer is very scary, because you also told me just now that both of your parents passed away from cancer, and the fact that you still make art.
Yeah.
So that was a lot to just introduce you with. But I kind of want to start from the beginning just to get to know you a little bit better. Where are you from?
I'm originally I grew up in Louisville, Kentucky.
Oh.
Yeah. I was born in Kinston, North Carolina, grew up in Louisville, Kentucky. My whole family is from Brooklyn and Queens, New York.
Oh, very interesting.
Yeah.
What was the reason for going to Kentucky then?
My father was a chemist. Wow. So he got transferred there.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Now, kind of a silly question.
Yeah.
What is a chemist? Is it like a pharmacist or something completely in the industrial sector?
It's mixing chemicals. So my father was like testing soil samples and all that kind of stuff, And funnily enough, he ended up being a chef, because it's the same thing, like throwing in ingredients and stuff. So yeah.
Fun fact, I took chemistry in high school. I was a terrible student, and I made a deal with my chemistry teacher saying I wouldn't harass or ask him any more questions if I just got a C in the class. And he held up to that deal, and I got a C. So,
I love it.
Yeah, I still don't understand chemistry, but that's okay. That's what YouTube is for. So from Kentucky, you were raised there most of your life?
Yeah, I didn't move out to LA until I was 23.
Oh, and that was because you were pursuing acting.
I was in school still, and it was the summer, and I said I want to see what it's like. And so I got in my Buick Regal with a CB radio. I asked my dad for a gun, and he wouldn't give me one, and he gave me a CB radio instead, and my name was Lemon Drop, and I drove to LA, and I started studying with Sanford Meisner here and Playhouse West.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah.
With the
Sanford Meisner, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This talk just went into a different year. I'm too caffeinated right now. So, first of all, the fact that you had like one of those radios to keep in contact with your dad is so cool. Yeah. Because this was back when?
This was in 93, and I didn't have contact with my father. I had contact with the truckers. So the truckers would talk to me, and especially going through like the desert, it starts to get really hard, like your cars break down. So the truckers would talk to me and say, okay, now you need to turn your air conditioner off and just stay with us and blah, blah, blah. And they helped me as I was going.
Wow.
I know. How cool is that?
So friendly. What a lovely community.
Yeah, it was really cool.
So you arrive in LA.
Yeah.
Were you scared at all, or nervous, or excited, or
terrified.
Everything? Okay.
Terrified. I had a couple of contacts. My grandparents had friends that were going to let me stay at their place for a couple of weeks. I wound up in a hotel or a motel. I want to say it was on Santa Monica Boulevard, and a friend of mine, not a friend, like an acquaintance of mine, had a friend out here, and I was supposed to go out with him because he knew the city. And so I called him. I'm like, I'm here. And he said, put on the sluttiest thing you have. And I was like, oh, I have a tight dress. And he's like, yeah, put that on. And he took me to some club. And then the next morning I was in the parking lot, and this guy was trying to help me because my car wouldn't start. And I went into where the where you get where the people work at the hotel, the desk person. And he just said, just FYI, that guy comes here every week to pick up people to be prostitutes. So you want to be careful. And I was like, oh my God, he wants me to be a prostitute? I was like, I felt so honored.
Stacey.
I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. I was like, oh, really? But of course, I just went out and I was like, I'm flattered, but no.
Mm-hmm. How did he take it? Was he like, all right?
It was like, whatever. It was really funny.
Oh my gosh.
That was my intro into LA. But I remember when I drove where the 10 meets the 101, all that, and all the buildings of downtown, I was on the CB radio and I just started crying because everything looked so big.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember that.
It's so funny to me, people's first introductory into LA, and everybody has a very crazy LA story. And mine was, I packed everything into my Honda Civic SI, and I said the exact model of my car because
I said Buick Regal.
Okay. I don't feel too bad then. It's like this little racing car with like a manual transmission. Anyway, I arrived in LA after 2 days of driving, and I was supposed to go and sleep on the couch at my friend's house. He wasn't there yet, so I was like, oh, I'll grab a sandwich. I'm on the phone with my parents as I've ordered the sandwich, and I'm like, yeah, everything's fine. I arrived. They're like, oh, we're really worried. I'm like, no, it's fine. There's a lot of commotion outside. I walk outside while on the phone with my mom, and there are these like two cholo-looking gangsters being arrested by what I remember counting. There had to be at least 30 cops there with 2 police helicopters, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna die here. This is it. Because I've been watching History Channel's Gangland. I don't know if you remember that show.
No, I don't remember.
And I was like psyching myself out about gangs in LA, and of course, the first thing I see is these 2 gang members just being arrested by 30 cops.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you had a cool LA story too.
Yeah.
I think it's necessary for everybody moving to LA. How did you get in contact with Sanford Meisner, and did you hear about him beforehand, or was he like still just kind of brand new to the LA scene?
That's a good question. I don't know whether I had already read his book, but I wound up at Playhouse West. Mm-hmm. With Robert Carnegie. I was studying with Robert Carnegie. And then maybe Robert said, Sanford is about to teach a class. And I was like, oh, I'm taking that class. So I was doing both at the same time. Mm. And Robert, my teacher at Playhouse West, was also sitting in on that class. And he already had the tube in his throat. So he was very few words. But, if he saw... I always just remember, like, people, he would just be like, fake! So, he just called it like it was, right? And I was just deep into it, deep into the work, deep into Meisner. I loved Meisner. I saw some of the best acting I've ever seen on stage doing Meisner. And people think that it's just the repetition, because a lot of people bastardize what he did. But it goes so much deeper than that. And almost every actor that I saw, that I represented, that came out of an MFA program or a BFA program or not, if I felt like they were tight and I didn't feel like they were reaching their potential, almost always I would say, I'd love for you to go do some Meisner. Because it just loosens you up. It gets you into this place where it's not really about learning how to do a self-tape or be on camera necessarily. It's about going deep inside yourself and finding out who you are as an actor, who you are as a person, what you have to unearth. Mm. And I saw more of that in that class than I did in almost any other class that I was in.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And it's why I didn't go back to college. That's why I didn't graduate, because my mom kept calling and saying, when are you coming back? You were only supposed to be there for the summer. And I was like, I don't think I can go back to college and do monologues for the teachers there when I'm out here with people who are actually working, and I'm studying with these people where I'm just going to these places I know won't happen in college.
Yeah. My first experience with Meisner technique was in college, and I thought it was bullshit, doing the repetition.
Yes.
And that's a lot of people's experience.
I did it there too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I was always like, this feels like one of those like acting exercises that. Oh, have you ever heard of animal essences? You ever work with animal essences in college?
No. Oh, you mean becoming the animal.
Yeah, it's like finding some type of physical attribute to the character, using an animal essence that would make sense with the character. It could work. I don't want to like negate any kind of technique because you never know what can work. I'm always open to anything, you know.
Margot Robbie does that for every role.
Okay.
She does animal work.
Okay, that works for her. Cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was one of those kind of lower tier techniques where I'm like, it's fine. And then we watched some videos of Meisner, and it was so interesting watching him. And I'm like, oh, there's something about bringing yourself present into the moment.
Yeah.
And everything else doesn't exist except what's going on here.
Right.
And your natural filter, your natural auditor of thoughts goes away, and so you can really make this beautiful connection, this alive connection with the person without having it go through a filter. And
right.
Stuff grows from it very organically, which is very exciting. It's almost like riding a wild stallion. You can't fight against it too much, but you kind of have to go with it. And yeah, it's very fun and exciting. And so it started to make more sense in the class, but then I took Keep It Real Acting, Stacey's class out here.
Oh, really?
Stacey Edwards, are you familiar with this?
I am.
Great scene study class based in Meisner work, and it was very. I was like, yes, this is it. Meisner work. This is a really good scene study class out here in Los Angeles.
I'm so glad you told me, because sometimes, I come in contact with quite a few people with the online presence stuff, and I didn't know, because I hadn't met anyone who'd actually been in the class. I hesitate to recommend anybody unless I really have a good recommend. So it's good to know that.
Yeah. And Stacey has that no bullshit attitude. She'll call you out, stop you right away, which I love. I sincerely love, because I feel like that's the only way you truly get better.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel like that you're in that same camp. You pointed towards yourself, like the no. You call
I
people
have
out.
something called the No Bullshit Room that I did for quite a while, especially during the pandemic on Clubhouse.
Yeah.
And I feel like I've had that my entire career as an agent, because I was an actor, so I knew what it took, right? So I have this unique ability to sort of hold someone's hand and understand how they have to get to where they need to get to, because I understand the art of it, but also very no bullshit, because I just couldn't take people who weren't ready to do the work, right? And so I feel like I've always been very straight up and not a cuddler, and some people have cried because they said that I was mean, and I'm like, I'm not being mean, I'm just being like, you call me on the phone, I'm in the middle of business, like this is no BS, right? And also my company, Beth Stein and Associates, is BS and Associates, right? It's funny. So.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that hit me. I like that.
Yeah, it took a second, right?
It took a second.
But so I really truly believe in not qualifying anything, not trying to couch anything, just being really upfront. Mm-hmm. I became the agent that I wish that I had when I was an actor. And so people, I think, really appreciated that in me.
Well, question then, because how do you change that in a person who is, because nobody teaches you that in college. I learned that, like the basic communication with your agent or your manager, the professionalism involved with that. And I don't want to say this is a very double-edged sword. Not the tough. If somebody's being truly an asshole to you, then you don't deserve to be disrespected. But there's an aspect of the business which sometimes seems cold to certain people. How do you teach someone like to toughen up, or not toughen up, maybe become more of that, have that professional aspect to them when nobody's ever taught them that? How direct can you be with them? Is it a case-by-case basis?
100%. And I think that it's one of the reasons why I'm more of a presence now. During the pandemic, everything slowed down. My business sort of really slowed. So I had this opportunity to teach, to give my knowledge to people. And I think that it's a real shame that this isn't taught in schools and more. And I'm starting to do that because I want to demystify the business. I think that it's really important for actors to understand both sides of it and to also take control of who they are in the relationship, realize that it's all about relationships. The same things that you would apply to meeting your partner, you should apply to meeting an agent. You know, the same reasoning you would, the same way you would want to go about being broken up with is how you should break up with an agent. I mean, it's all just common sense life stuff. And I think that actors get all up in their heads because they think that it's this other thing, when really it's just basic common sense human interaction. I was a psych major for a while, and it helped me a great deal being an agent, not just in negotiating, but also with all of my clients. And like you said, there is no one way. I would say 10 different actors could ask me the same question, and I would answer differently based on where they were in their career, who they are, what their personality was, what they look like, how I interpret what they look like and where they would fit. So I could say something to them because of what I see, and someone else could see something totally different. Finding the right people for your team is like going into a store and picking out shoes and shirt, and everyone is going to pick out something different because there's a vibe that has to happen.
Right.
You know, it's why everybody today is like swiping left or swiping right. Nobody knows why. They just feel it or they don't. Same with everything.
Right. What do you think is the biggest problem with brand new actors?
The biggest problem with brand new actors is they want an agent right away before they do anything. They call themselves an actor before they really have learned the craft of acting. Even if you've come out of an MFA program, you still don't really know what you're doing until you've been out here for a year or two. Unless you're really lucky, somebody picks you up right away, right out of school, and gets you on a show right away. And that happens. So there's no, you know, I've grabbed someone from Playhouse West and had them in Israel doing a series regular within a couple of weeks of being together. And then I've had people who it's a slow burn. So I think that new actors see the shiny thing and they are immediately going after the shiny instead of making sure that they're really ready.
I agree with you.
Yeah. There's so many actors that I know that everybody has that friend that puts them in touch with this person who gets them that big audition when they first come out here because everybody, I have this contact. They wish they could get that audition back because they weren't ready. They weren't ready for that chance, you know? And so I think that they're just rushing it. Everybody's rushing. And I always say Hollywood's not going anywhere. Except right now it's a clusterfuck. But I think that, you know, I think that really taking the time to make sure that you're ready. There's no discovery here. It's such a small 0.001% of actors who get like quote unquote discovered. Most of the people that you see that all of a sudden they just come out of the woodwork, they've been banging around for a lot of years. Had pilots that didn't go, you know, are they on lists or whatever? And everybody's like, well, they did it and they're 40. And I'm like, yeah, but for the last 25 years, they've been working really hard at it.
Yeah.
You know?
I have a buddy of mine. His name is Isaiah Adams. And in 2016, we started doing this thing called Sunday class. We'd meet up in Little Tokyo and we would basically give each other cold scenes that we haven't seen before, and we would just run them over and over and over and over again. And it became our little like acting dojo time, and we noticed some great improvements from it. And then one day, should I say the name of the show? No, I'm not going to say it.
Why not?
Well, there's a individual involved, and we don't want to cause any. Yeah, I'm not going to say the name.
Okay. Don't say it.
So this individual he had worked with, she booked a lead in a series and had never acted before. The lead. And he was very honest with me. He's like, you know, I usually don't feel like this, but I'm kind of upset that like, this is ridiculous. And he knew her personality, like, working with her, and it's kind of sometimes a little off-putting with her personality. And he's like, we're out here hustling, we're out here working hard. And I'm like, you know what? I actually don't envy her at all.
Yeah.
Because I am thankful I never booked a series regular role when I first moved out here, because that would have been a disastrous experience. I wouldn't have been ready for it. And so there's only two options here. She's either not ready, and it's going to be a crash and burn or very tough learning experience for her.
Yeah.
Or she's actually that good, and you can't, I mean, that's very rare, but, and you can't be upset for her, you know what I mean?
I'm so glad you didn't say the name.
Yeah.
So what happened?
It was a terrible show.
It was a terrible show.
But that doesn't mean she did terrible.
Yeah.
I thought, for being first one and for what it was, okay, like, that's decent.
Yeah.
It got, I think a few seasons, but
Wow.
after that, it's like, interesting. This is your reality of the business now, which you have your own obstacles to face with that.
Yeah.
So good luck to you.
Yeah.
And so him and I's career have been, I feel like, a little bit more of a blessed and better experience, where it's like step by step by step, learning slowly, gaining that knowledge, watching other people make mistakes on set so that you don't make them.
Yeah.
And it's growing. Your relationships are growing better. And now, 5 years have gone by, 7 years, 8 years, 10 years. You've established these relationships. You've established yourself pretty solidly. There's no more nerves. There's no more, you know what I mean? So it's like this different experience. So, yeah, it's very interesting when people get what they want when they're not ready for it.
Right.
Yeah.
Or they get what they want. Maybe they are ready for it. And then they think that it's that easy. So then you're only as good as your last show. I mean, honestly, a lot of actors think, oh, if I just get that guest star, or if I just get that series regular, when that show is over, it's over. You then have to go back and audition. It's not just open season now and you're getting all these scripts. It takes a while for that to happen. So there's this rush mentality, I think, in the beginning. People want it really quickly, and they don't understand that if it does come quickly, which it does for a very small few, then you have to deal with the ebb that comes after the flow. And that can be crushing for some people, because they're like, oh, wait, it's not going to always come this easy. I'm not always going to be booking.
Yeah.
And then there's a depression that happens.
Yeah.
Can you help me with that?
What's going on?
I can't understand how to put it back together.
These, okay, here we
Yeah,
go.
what did I do?
No, nothing. I don't know. I think this is good. Like, here,
Is it
and
good?
and you can make it bigger too if you'd like.
My hair's
If it happens,
No, this is good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying every single which way, and I was like, it's not working. There we go. Okay.
We did it. We made a memory.
I did it. I'm old. You got to just give me a little grace.
You're not old.
I'm old. Yeah.
You're not old.
In my 50s, baby. In my 50s.
So you came out here for acting, kind of going back to that.
Yeah.
What was the transition to becoming a manager, and how was that soon after, or like that was a few years after?
It was a few years. I, became part of a Pacific Resident Theater, so I was part of a theater company. And when I became part, I just went up. I just wanted to see the shows. I had no money to see the shows, and I just asked if I could sweep the floors. I started sweeping the floors, and then became part of the company. And I was surrounded by really, really talented, amazing actors, right? And I had agents, who never really did anything for me. I was in plays with people who either had shitty agents or couldn't get an agent. And I had worked for, I interned for Mark Tillman. So I sort of saw, back in the day, it was a messenger service, and we were taking in hard copies, and I saw what the packages looked like. And then I worked for my agent, and I saw, how that worked. And I was like, this isn't rocket science. I could probably do this. And so I just started with 10 people from my theater company, and a friend of mine had 10 people from her class, and we started in somebody's living room because I didn't have a fax machine, and we needed one to get the breakdowns. And I got a messenger service. I knew what things needed to look like. And I just started the company. And it just grew from that to this big thing that was making, 7 figures. It was awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
I mean, it took 20 years for that. So I could have fast-tracked it by, getting involved in being somebody's assistant or something at a larger agency.
Yeah.
But I was blessed that I had friends who were working at pretty large agencies, and then through a negotiation where somebody else was involved, I became friends with an agent at another agency. So I had somebody sort of guiding me. Anytime I had questions, I could call. Everybody likes to help in this business. I think people forget that, actors especially. Human beings love to help people. They love being asked for help. We forget that, and so we don't ask. Actors come to me and they're scared all the time because they know someone, but they're afraid to ask. And I'm like, if you don't ask, you get nothing.
I think it goes back to like not learning how to be professional. Like there's no class on like professionalism.
Right.
How do you ask your agent or manager for a catch-up meeting?
Right.
Nobody tells you.
That's not true. I do. On my Instagram, I have over 5,000 questions that actors have asked me. They're all on my Instagram.
That's great.
And if people would just listen, they get the answers to all these questions you're asking. I get thousands of questions.
That's great that you offer that that information, because I know when I first started in 2009 professionally, there wasn't. No. I mean, I could go on Google. I could have probably gone on Google, but I mean now the resources are readily available. But back then and even before then, it's one of those things where, there's just they forget there's a business side to it.
Here's the thing. There's also something quite beautiful about that. There's something beautiful about taking the next step and having that show you the next step. Learning by doing, and people, nobody wants to do that anymore. Everyone wants the shortcut. And there's a beautiful thing about being able to look back and seeing how you grew into the professionalism, how you learned from your first relationship with your agent, how to be with your next agent, or how to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And remembering the people that actually taught you those things. Those are beautiful memories, and laughing about how stupid you were back when you went into that room and you screwed up that audition because you had no idea.
Oh my God.
What you were walking into.
I had a friend, Dean Cameron.
Yeah.
He talked about his 4th of July audition. I was just like, oh my God. Have you seen the clip or no?
No.
It's with, what's his name? Oliver Stone.
Oh, wow.
And he asked him to, the audition was this giant monologue. And then Oliver Stone tells him, just do the first section. And Dean goes, no, I memorized the whole thing.
Oh.
And Oliver Stone's like, no, just do the first part. And Dean's like, no, I memorized it. And they went back and forth. And then Dean said, fuck you.
Oh my God, that's so brilliant. He left.
Yeah. Is that what happened? I think he left, right?
It was a mutual, you get out.
Okay, you get out.
Both
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh my
He's
God.
like, get out, and then
Oh
fuck
my
you,
God.
and then, yeah.
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 And then
Wow.
more recently, Dean told me about his, he memorized the wrong part
Oh, yeah.
for a
shit.
pilot audition. And he didn't tell them in the room. He just started cold reading it. Looked like a crazy person.
Oh,
And
no.
then he got stung by a bee in the middle of it. It was just like
That's a different one.
Oh, that was a different
That
one?
was a different one. That was a guy with white hair with a white beard.
Yeah, that's Dean.
is
That's
Dean.
Dean.
Oh, that's
the same
Dean.
guy.
Same
Dean
guy.
Cameron. Yeah, same guy.
Oh.
Yeah. He's actually a super talented actor too, and everything. It's just like
It has some bad luck.
that.
Wow. That's sad. He got stung by a bee. I saw that.
What I love talking about this stuff. What's it called? The kids say spill the, not the tea.
Spill the tea.
What's some of your pet peeves, or as I learned recently, pet peeve when it comes to meeting actors for the first time, like first meetings, or having an actor as a client and stuff like that.
Oh God, there's just so many. I don't love it when, and this is a new actor thing, there's a couple of them, so I believe that commercials are very important to the career of an actor. I really do. I think that it's it's a really amazing way to make money so that you don't have to do a second job. And so I would have actors come in who think they're James Dean, and they sit back on the couch and they're like this, and they just say, yeah, I'm only interested in, independent features. And I'm like, so you don't want to make money. You're coming into my office telling me straight up no money. And the look on their eye, another pet peeve is when somebody comes in and they start bad-mouthing their other agent.
Ooh.
It's not good. It's not a good look. A lot of people do it, especially now.
Really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And there's a way to say it where you're not bad-mouthing the agent, It comes from ego. It comes, if there's ego, if there's a chip on the shoulder. I know a lot of actors would come in, people who have lengthy resumes, and things have maybe slowed for them, and there's a huge chip on the shoulder. And I usually have said to that person, I can't do anything with the chip on your shoulder. Like, you're going to have to drop it, or I can't work with you because nothing's going to happen with that chip.
Oh, shit.
Like,
yeah.
It's just not going to work.
What do they say to you when you say that?
I have found, for the most part, if I'm just really honest, like, I'm not trying to do anything. I'm just calling it like I see it. And I'm not saying it in a mean way. I'm just saying this is what I observe. People are usually pretty open, because if they're in my, they're not in the office anymore, but when they were in my office, it was for a reason. Like, they were looking for something. So I think when people are looking for something, they're more open to listening. Also, I think that actors, and I don't think this is a good thing, they put agents on a pedestal, when really I'm just like them. Agents are just as scared. We have all the same insecurities as the actors. Everyone is scared that their top actors are going to leave them, that they're going to get dropped. I mean, it's all the same, right? Yeah. But actors somehow put a lot of faith in the agent. So people listen to what I said, I think, because I was a really good agent. And that I'm compassionate, and that I used to be an actor, so I understand their plight. And I think, this might be coming just from ego, but I feel like for the most part I was right. I don't think I ever said anything because I was trying to belittle anyone. I can pretty much see someone and say, oh, you need to tweak this. The pictures aren't right. You're not leading with the right stuff. I was really able to, so I think people respected what I had to say. And I don't think I ever said anything in a hateful way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know I haven't known you for that long, but I couldn't see you saying it in a crazy, non-communicative way.
Yeah, no, I try. Sometimes it comes out a little abrupt, but for the most part, I'm just like, this is how I see it. You either vibe with that road, because there's 10 more roads you could take. This is the road I would take you on.
Yeah.
Go to therapy and figure your shit out.
Did that improve as time went on with your own agency, or was it like an automatic thing?
You mean my communication?
Or was it like, for instance, when you started managing, did you immediately go, oh, cool, this is definitely something that's working out?
No, because when I first started managing, I was also managing myself, right? So it was a different bird, right? The goal was to get myself work along with my friends, and it wasn't until I sort of realized, oh, I'm really good at this, and the business started taking off.
Right.
Was when I was like, oh, and then also, like, that's when my mom passed, right? And when my mom passed, I stopped. I think I did maybe one more TV show, and then I was like, no more theatrical. I was only doing commercial, and then. And I would have I had offices, and I remember I finally had I was on this office on Abbot Kinney in Venice, and I remember canceling an audition for myself because it was too much work for me I couldn't go to any more auditions. It would just, it wasn't feasible. And I remember the casting director calling, because somehow they knew who I was. And they were like, why aren't you coming? And I was like, because I can't drive to La Brea and drive back and not be buried in work, And so that's when I knew I was time to quit acting. I think I just went on a tangent. I don't know what the question was.
No. This is the show. This
This is the show. Okay, good.
This is what happens.
Good. I love it.
Yeah. No, we're on track. It just evolves.
I love
it's
it.
Meisner. It's very Meisner.
Yeah, I know. That's how I am. That's who I am. I go on tangents, so I love it. I'm right there with you.
Yeah. I don't know.
We were talking pet peeves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I love hearing the ridiculousness of certain actors, like like what you just said about the James Dean coming in, saying I don't want to make money, and because I'm the opposite.
Yeah.
When I came in, I'm always like, put me on a procedural as a series reg.
Yeah.
Let me work 10 months out of the year, and let me do whatever I want for 2 months out of the year, and I'll be totally happy, and I'll make the procedural good too.
Yeah.
Like I'm happy doing that.
Do you think that Johnny Depp said my dream job is 21 Jump Street? No. I'm positive he did not say that. But he got himself to a place where he could do whatever the fuck he wanted to. And I feel like actors forget that. It's like, just say yes. Say yes, because that yes is going to lead you to the next yes. And sure, there are times to say no, for sure. But I find that actors say no way too quickly. Actors are their own worst enemy. They talk themselves out of doing things because they think they're not right for something. And so they just automatically say no. Or they get an audition and they're like, no, I wouldn't want to do that project. I'm like, nobody's offering it to you. Mm-hmm. This is not an offer. This is an audition.
Yeah.
Right? So there's just this sense of, and I think it comes from ego and fear instead of realizing like, well, do you know this casting director? Wouldn't it be great to meet this casting director? Have them see your work? It's not an offer yet.
Yeah.
So I just feel like, even like soap operas, like I know they have a bad rap, but for years I would run into people who would be like, well, I don't want to do a soap. I'm like, some of the best training ground for you. And why wouldn't you? Who's saying you have to do it for 20 years? Maybe you do it for a year and then you go off and you do something else.
Yeah.
Or not, right? Like I have to change what I say depending on the actor that's in front of me.
Stacey, I would kill it in a soap. I want to do one of those. You know what I'm talking about? Those long stares they do as the music's playing. It's like 30 seconds of them just like.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fun, right? It could be fun.
Of course it can be.
It's just, I just think that people like approach things sometimes with this. I've just seen people shut their career down by saying no when they probably should have said yes.
You know what I kind of want to do with you right now?
What? Say
this
no?
Is gonna be fun. No. We're gonna do something fun here. Okay. We're gonna do a soap stare. Peyton, are you ready with the switcher?
I guess so.
I guess so.
Here
we go. Okay?
What are we doing?
We're gonna turn around on count us in, Peyton. Okay. And we're both gonna turn to look at each other, right?
Okay.
And we haven't seen each other in a long time, Stacey, okay?
Yeah.
All right. What else on the relationship would you like?
I don't know. I'm trying to decide whether I like you or not.
Okay, maybe.
And what happened?
Let's make it very soapy. Not a good ending, right? I left you for your sister.
Damn.
And then she died.
And then she died, yes. Suspiciously.
Oh, shit.
And this is the first time we bump into each other at a restaurant in the back. Okay? Here we go.
3, 2, 1.
That was the funnest thing I've done in a long time. Oh, I'm crying a little bit.
That just came into your head.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, no, soaps would be awesome.
It's not the dream job of a lot of people, but I just think, there's some people I would say, no, I don't think you should do that. And some people I would say, why are you saying no?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. I think part of it's ignorance, too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Ignorance and understanding who you are as a person. I think one of the best tips I got, and you mentioned here, casting directors. Just get in front of them. Like,
Right.
show them that you could do good with something, even though it's not in your age range,
Right.
which has happened a lot to me, and it's actually worked out to my benefit later on.
Yeah.
And it's like, they're like, oh, cool. Obviously, he's too young or too old, but we'll bring him in for something else. You know, they're able to like knock that out of the park.
Yeah, I got a job because I was the youngest person in the room, and everyone else looked like my mother. And I was like, what am I doing here? And they ended up changing the role, and that happens a lot. And that's a big thing. People are like, my agent's sending me out for things that are too old for me. And I'm like, but you're getting called in for them. So then you have to look at that. You have to look at what your package is. If things aren't happening for you, I find that a lot of actors they throw the blame this way. All the blame starts getting thrown instead of going, okay, what can I do?
Yeah.
You know?
What is a I guess that's different for everybody. I was gonna say a good like work-life balance for beginning actors, because you know, you have to make money, you have to find some kind of side job, but at the same time, I don't know. I guess that's different for everybody, you know, especially nowadays, like serving tables. There's other job opportunities everywhere, delivering food, and finding a healthy work-life balance, I think, is important.
Listen, this is a big topic for me right now because I sold my company because I have a really, I jumped off the hamster wheel.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. What? Why? Uh-oh.
Oh, no. I just said, I sounded intense. You jumped off the hamster wheel. So I said,
I think that there's this whole hustle culture, especially in Los Angeles, especially in our business, and I don't subscribe to it anymore.
Oh.
But I was just talking about this the other day because I feel like I loved working with athletes because I think that they understood the amount of work that goes into being great. And there is this feeling in our business right now that you should be able to, you know, have balance in your life. And I fully believe that and want that for everyone. And I know that the people who are highly successful hustle. They hustle. I don't want to tell anybody to hustle because I know that the hustle, I got cancer because of the hustle. I got cancer because of the stress of all of that. But I do believe, you know, Michael Jordan saying, I was out there throwing free throws in my driveway every single day. I was working every day for 3 or 4 hours when some people were only working 2 or 3 hours a week. It's like there is that sense that people want it to come easy, and in my head I'm like, it takes so much work. But in my own life now, I am about sitting back and having balance in my life and not being in that hustle culture. So there's a fight going on in my head about this that you just brought up, the hustle culture versus having balance, because I think both are important. Health and family, important over anything. If you don't have your health and your family, you're not going to have a good life, period. But I do believe that the people who really work hard at their craft excel. Not always, because there's other factors involved, but I do believe that people who work hard get further.
That's understandable.
Yeah.
I think enjoying the hustling side too, enjoying it, knowing that this is where the progress is being made. Sometimes it's hard, especially when you're fatigued. I feel like for everybody, whenever you get fatigued, tired, you start going a little bit more on the negative side of things.
Yeah. And it's recognizing that, like recognizing if you're not having fun, like I would tell people it's time to step away for a bit.
I gotta say, I haven't worked in a while because of, you know, not only because of the strike, just because of my last job, the circumstances. That made it sound so dramatic. They just...
I know. In my head, I'm like, what was his last job and what happened?
They got a new showrunner, a new writer's room, and they wrote my character off.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. He's not dead, but he's just, like, not there.
What a fun little detail to add in there.
They were like, he's not important enough for us to kill him off. Like, people will just forget about him.
Let me say this. I absolutely loved working with everybody at
Yeah.
Law and Order Organized Crime. I have no hard feelings. That's part of the industry, and I wish
Yeah.
everybody there the best of luck with their
Yeah.
future seasons. And yeah, that was nothing negative about that, because that happens.
No, it just happens all
Different
the time.
stories. And I'm honored. I'm sincerely honored and thankful that it was only supposed to be 2 episodes, and they put me in 10. And I'm
Amazing.
like, thank you so much.
Amazing.
So I sincerely mean that, because I don't think I've ever really talked about that since that's happened in full detail. I might have. Do you guys remember if I have or not?
No, we had Danielle on, and you were very vague because Danielle is
Okay.
on the show.
That's
as
right,
a
okay.
Series reg.
But you're not dead.
But you're
I'm
not
not dead.
Dead.
But
No,
you're not.
I'm not dead.
But everyone wants you to come back. The fans.
The fans.
The fans
And
love
you're
me.
not dead.
And you're not dead.
And I'm not dead.
He's not dead.
I'm not dead.
He's not dead. But here's the thing. I feel like every successful person has at one point been fired off a show.
Yeah.
So there you are. You're successful.
Thank you.
There you go. You just joined the club.
It feels so good. It feels so good to join the club, Stacey. What was I saying with that? Oh gosh.
What were we talking about? I don't remember.
Oh, that's what I was going to talk about. The enjoying the hustle, enjoying. Peyton has a successful YouTube channel off a game called Dead by Daylight, which he plays and tweets about. And so we've shot in how many skits now for it?
A couple.
Yeah, and they've been absolutely so much fun to do. And we've shot a skit for one of our guests who made me a suit on this show, Sam's Taylor Roshan, and that was so much fun to do. And just even being in front of the camera just for that short amount of time, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I forget.
Yeah.
This is even these little things, that little in quotation marks. It makes my soul happy, you know?
Here's the thing. I think that people think they have to wait for the invitation.
Yeah.
And you don't. You don't have to wait to. It's great to be invited to the party. It's wonderful. But you don't have to wait to be invited to the party. You can create your own party, especially now with all of the things we have, YouTube and all, actors can act. They can create their own things. They can, I was just rewatching one of my videos with Rob Morrow, and he was talking about how for 10 years he was just doing these shitty plays, that nobody saw. Sometimes there were more people in the play than there were in the audience, and they still did them because that's what you do, to keep the creative juices flowing.
Yeah.
It cannot be all about whether somebody chooses you or not. It is the death of your art.
I love that.
Yeah, it's true.
I love that. That's very true.
Yeah.
It just reignites something in me whenever I get back in there.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Because
been
the
wanting to do
art is in the doing of it. What you have after is the artifact. It's the artifact. That's the thing that gets thrown away. But you have to keep just being in it and doing it, because that's what our life is about.
Yeah. I'm a big proponent in finding other crafts to explore, other arts. I think that just makes you a better actor in the long run.
I do too.
And you find parallels with each different craft that you can apply, like these little bits of wisdom that apply all across the board to all of them.
I do too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you got over hustled and it stressed you out. You said you got diagnosed with cancer while you were still having the agency, or is this?
Oh yeah.
Okay. And
Yeah.
is that one of the reasons why you sold it?
Yeah, the timeline goes, my dad got sick, and so I basically buried my dad, although we flamed him. And 2 weeks after I got back from essentially burying my father, I was diagnosed with stage 3C ovarian cancer.
Whoa.
And so my friends who knew how, I'm a worker, right? I'm a hustler worker. So I would be at my desk and my husband would say, Stace, you haven't left your desk. And I'm like, I have to pee. And he'd be like, you have to go pee. And an hour later, he's like, Stace, did you go pee? And I'm like, no, I'm working. He's like, go pee. And I would take my computer to the bathroom, sit on the toilet, and then he'd be like, honey, are you still on the toilet? An hour later, I'd be on the toilet like this, working. And he'd like, get off the toilet. And I'd have to go back to my desk. And the pandemic. So anyway, my friends told me you're not allowed to work. So while I was fighting my cancer, I had my assistant, I hired an agent. That's when, so it took me about a year to get over the cancer. I did not work. My friends did not allow me to work. They filtered everything through my assistant to me. And then when I came back, I hired people. So I hired a new agent. So I had 2 agents working for me. I had an assistant working for me. Then the pandemic happened. So we had grown, right? And then the pandemic hit, and I was still growing, and I had to let my agents go because I didn't want to go into debt to take the PPP loans and all that. I was just like, I didn't want to do that. And nobody ever works as hard as you on your business. And so I started putting my hands back into things and really making things run very smoothly again, and people were booking, and I was at like the height, right, during the pandemic, and I was doing this thing, not peeing, not eating because I was working so hard. At the end of the day, I'd be crying because I was just exhausted. And my husband would say, but you're making so much money. And I was like, what is the point of making all this money if I can't enjoy it? I'm waiting for the weekend, and then I'm just like exhausted. And I was like, this is not a life. I don't care how much money I'm making. And so I decided I had friends who helped me, and they helped get all the numbers together. And I just started going out to people, seeing if somebody would want to merge. And I think because I had a couple of really high profile accounts with actors, and I was in a very healthy situation in terms of the money that was coming in from the actors who were booking. I was attractive, and so I was able to merge with someone. And then for about a year and a half into the merge, I was sort of managing my clients within the other agency. And then once I knew that they were all taken care of, it was time for me to step away and go back to my art, right? Because when I became an agent, I neglected my own craft. And so now I'm invested, even though I'm still attached to the BSA, giving information out, helping actors as much as I can with the knowledge that I have.
Was it tough for you shifting gears like that because of a possible attachment with your identity to your job?
Oh my God, it's still hard. I still, there's this feeling of not being relevant anymore. There's this, there's something that happens when you have 100 people who all are looking to you for advice, and you're their lifeline. And they're your family. They're like my kids. My husband would say, you have 100 children, because I was very involved with my clients. I was a very different agent. I almost managed them and was their agent. I was very involved, and it's really hard to let that go. I'm still in the process of letting that go. I haven't fully let it go. I'm still on my Instagram, as Beth Stein Agency. I'm still going and giving talks and showing up at people's classes and being asked to, answer questions. I'm sure at some point I'll become irrelevant, but, I don't know if I think that that's bad.
I don't know. I don't know if that's because what you're sharing is going to be on Instagram forever. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's there, and it's wisdom. So I don't know if that ever stops being relevant.
No.
But like maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's the maybe the right perspective. I don't know if I agree, but I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
We are finished with our time here on Adobe. This conversation will continue. Tomorrow morning, our full episode is available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Thank you so much for tuning in live to Adobe Radio. Really appreciate you all. Just remember to follow us on @WeSam's World. And Stacey, where would you like people to follow you? Because you have 3 Instagram accounts.
Yeah. So if you're interested in my offering as an agent, it's at Beth Stein Agency on Instagram. And then I'm also on TikTok, but most of my stuff is on Instagram and YouTube.
Awesome.
There's a
Great.
YouTube page.
Awesome. All right, guys. The show continues on. See you next time. Yeah, I think you'll stay relevant. And also, you're an artist too, with the art that you create and painting and sculpting. So
here's the thing. This is because I just spent 5 weeks in Bali and then I spent 3 weeks in Honduras, and I feel like really our lives are about being lighthouses for each other, right? And so that's not necessarily about doing anything. It's about being and the light that you can shine from within, right? And you actually don't even have to leave your house to do that. But so I'm really about making my life be about peace now. And so that's why I struggle with the BSA stuff, because the BSA stuff isn't necessarily about peace. It's about sharing and offering, but yeah, I'm not so sure how much longer that piece is going to, and I mean PIEC, is going to be relevant for me. You know, I'm doing a book. I'm writing a book with all this stuff, and maybe that will be like my last offering. I'm not sure.
yeah,
I don't know.
it's exciting though.
It's exciting. I mean, you know, every once in a while I'm like, oh, I could just get a job and just become an agent again, you know. And when my when my actors hear that, they're like, yes, please. You ruined us for everyone else, you know. And but the thought of doing that just kind of no, especially now with the strike.
Do you see an end in sight?
Oh boy, I mean, look, of course there will be an end. It's just the natural progression of things. There will be an end to it. But, you know, Iger just pulled all of his stuff off of Spectrum. Did you see that? There's no Disney on Spectrum anymore. You can't watch ESPN. You can't watch, like, nobody can watch their tennis matches. It's like, that guy's crazy. So I just...
What's the point of that?
I just feel like he's like, I'm rich, I'm taking all my cookies and I'm going home. He's just, I'm not exactly sure what it's all about. But, you know, look, I've been through several of these strikes and pandemic, and our business always finds a way to come back together as a community and fix itself. It always has. It always will. There will always be a need for art and for film and for really good you know, acting and theater. I don't believe that will ever go away. I do think that I don't think it will happen in my lifetime, although maybe. I do see everything going down this AI road. So maybe, you know, I mean, I also think eventually we're going to be teleporting ourselves. You know what I mean? Like, I think that there's just shit that's going to happen that I never would believe could happen. But I'm really glad I'm not an agent right now. I'm really glad I don't have a company right now. I think it's very scary for my counterparts, especially if you don't have the income from commercials. That's really terrifying. But it is just about like treading water for a while and then doing things like you guys are doing on YouTube, you know, making content. I've had several clients who've really made their own careers by doing things like that, and I use them as examples all the time. I'm just like, just got to do your own thing. Yeah. And if you're good, people take notice.
Well, we're the #1 show on Adobe Radio. I don't know if you know this.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, #1 show.
Wow, I picked well.
Oh yeah, we beat out the Nick Major show by like hundreds of thousands of viewers. Oh, he has his headphones in. He can't hear me now. I just sound like a weirdo. Oh, there he is. Wait, what? That is not true. Incorrect. Nick has his own podcast here as well, and it's all right.
I had no idea what you were doing. I thought you were like looking up to God or something.
Yeah, no, definitely not. Yeah,
I was
definitely
like,
not.
where
so
is he
thankful.
looking? I'm like, what is happening right
He's
now?
so thankful.
Number one show, baby. We're just caught. We'll see. No, I'm kidding.
Did this go the way you thought it was going to go?
This talk?
Yes. Did we talk about the things you thought we were going to talk about?
In terms of what I wanted to talk about so far, yeah, and even
Okay,
more
good.
so, and it was a lot of fun. And I don't really have specific expectations because I think that's bitten me in the behind before on certain interviews.
Yeah. And because
Yeah.
I told you to take the expectations way low.
No, I knew it was going to be a good talk just from the way you've spoken on other shows and stuff.
Yeah.
But there's also that wild card factor,
Yeah.
which I'm always prepared for somebody showing up and wearing sunglasses during the whole interview,
Oh
which
my God.
drive me crazy.
Did that happen?
Yeah, a long time ago.
Oh.
Yeah, she was some Australian terrible singer.
People are quickly scrolling down your
Yeah.
Instagram. Like, who is that?
Yeah. Yeah, I'll say that to her face. I don't care. Like, there's some things that I'm like, you know what?
awesome.
Yeah.
I think we deleted.
No, it's still there.
Is it?
Yeah, it's still there. It was when I was still new to the podcasting game and I didn't know how to, you know what I love about this show too? I've gotten progressively better as I've done this because my first 100 episodes on Actors Anonymous, which was this previous podcast I did,
Yeah.
were absolutely terrible. You know, I was just brand new to it, podcasting, didn't know what I was doing. And then with this one, I kind of was learning from my mistakes and progressively, I feel like we're in a good place now.
Oh,
Finally.
I think you're really good. I would not
thanks.
have come on here if I didn't think so. I was like,
That means a
oh,
lot.
wow. Yeah, really good.
It really does. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Because I enjoy doing this because podcasting has done two things for me, which is very important. First of all, it's bettered my life. Certain episodes into it's opened up doors and wisdom and strength for me that I didn't think was possible. And the second thing is it's in a healthy way, a distraction from certain aspects of my life. And also there are certain podcasts when they were on that made me feel like I used to miss having my guy friends. And it was like, I felt like, oh, cool. This is like my guy time when I get to listen to these because I felt like that was important for my life balance.
Yeah.
For me, like I need that healthy male energy around me every now
Yeah.
and then where it's like, this is a guy's night type of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
I think it goes back to, it's very easy, especially in Los Angeles, to become introverted. And it is about taking that step because I feel like every time I have human interaction, real human interaction, there's a reason why it's happening and it moves me to another place. It just goes back to the saying yes thing because you never know what you're supposed to get from that other person, and I like to try to live my life with no regrets now every day. And part of that means saying yes. If this was my last day, would I regret doing this or not doing this? And almost always the answer is you're going to regret not saying yes to that. So just do it. See what happens.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
It takes bravery to do it. It doesn't mean you won't be feeling scared saying yes. Let's make that clear. That was one of the things I learned a long time ago. Courage isn't not feeling afraid. It's doing it and still feeling afraid.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sometimes I'm still nervous to talk to my producer, Peyton. He gets really angry. I don't know if you know this about him, but he's booked so many acting roles, and he's
love it.
changed.
Are you talking about me?
He's
No,
famous.
no,
He's
no.
Are you
famous. He's famous.
Are you back talking me?
Don't look at him. He's too shiny.
What?
He's
I'm sorry.
sparkly.
Wait, slammed him. I love that. Oh my gosh, this was a lot of fun, Stacy.
Yeah, it was good.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else we should wrap up today. No, you've got a great energy about you, and seriously, I'm really glad that you're in remission. And you've obviously already spread so much positivity and changed so many people's lives that. Yeah, you're welcome back anytime. Whenever you want to talk
Aw.
about anything, you want to promote anything, you're part of the WeSam's World family now. So
I love it.
yeah, and this was absolutely great. Thank you so much for making time, coming out here. And,
I
yeah.
loved it. It was my pleasure.
You're the best. Thank you, Stacey. People want to follow you at your
Beth Stein Agency.
Beth Stein Agency.
Yeah.
Great.
And if they want to see my art, Stacey Solodkin.
Awesome.
Yeah. I kind of, I sometimes I post about my art because I think that actors don't understand that the art is universal. And so all of the same issues of being an actor is also of being an artist, and everybody has that thing that they want to do. Somebody's an agent, but they also have, there's an inner artist in all of us, you know, and it's like finding that out about, you know, and now I'm starting the podcast over again, but I like to say that when you're submitting to agents, one of the most important things you can do is tell them why you're submitting to them specifically instead of sending out 500 emails, you know. So I always love it when someone has clearly done their research and they're submitting to me specifically because of something of who I am, and they talk to me in that way. I can't tell you how many times, you know, you get emails all day long and it's just this form email about them instead of why. And so when I coach actors, I'm like, well, why that agency and why that agent? It's so important to really research and get to know the person on a human level, you know?
I like that. One of the things in the past when I've looked for a manager or an entertainment lawyer, I've been with the same theatrical agent now for a long time, which has been great.
I love that. I had people that were with me the whole time, too.
Yeah. I like family people because I know that they're not just working for themselves.
Right.
So that was actually important for me whenever my friends or colleagues were trying to decide between agents. I'm like, which one has a family?
Oh, I love that.
Because they're not just putting on the food on the table for themselves. They've got kids. They've got this. There's extra fire. So if it was like between two people, yeah. I'm not saying that's all. That was just my go-to thing.
I love that. I like that.
Yeah. You have tons more advice. I didn't want to go into the whole list of asking you the same things that you've talked about, like with for actors and stuff, because I want people to visit your Instagram as well, because that's where a lot of that knowledge is on there. Yeah, thanks again for coming on.
Thank
You're
you.
awesome.
You're awesome.
Beth Stein Agency, check it out. Peyton, I almost said Playton.
Clayton,
Play us out.
play us out.
Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in the show. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. I hope life is going well for you. You know what to do. Leave a comment. Hit the subscribe button. Why'd you laugh at that, Peyton? It's cute.
That is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
You know what to do.
You know what to do. You're part of the We Sam's World family. I wanted to do a thing where We Sam's Warriors for a while, but then I'm like, that's so intense.
You're
In
intense.
a good way, though.
And intense.
Yeah.
All right.
Everyone's
we might
got
start
their,
that.
like, follower names, right?
Yeah, We Sam's Warriors. You know
We
what?
Sam's
Let's start a cult. We Sam's Warriors. Actually, for the purposes of YouTube, I was just joking. Let's not start a cult. We don't want to be demonetized.
Drink liquid death.
Oh, there you go. Free advertisement for Liquid Death. I love it. Okay. Always remember to listen, think, and then talk. Bye, everybody.